Hello, I'm Dr. Will Puente, and I am a real estate investor who also runs a flat fee listing service for plenty of metro areas, especially in the California, Texas, Georgia, and Florida markets. I first was a real estate investor. I even advised right out of college real estate investors on their portfolios. And you have to understand that one of the frustrations investors have is listing services, especially flat fee companies. Look, investors have a different way of doing their business. They must find a way to get to their bottom line and to try to save there. They really cannot pay 6% in real estate. In fact, a lot of these investors try to find 5% services overall or even 4% services, but it still eats into their equity. And it is difficult, especially nowadays with how expensive material and labor is. It's just that type of market. Well, when I was younger and I became a broker after being an agent for some time, I myself was frustrated because I could not find, a company that would actually list my homes in a way where I could save. I had to take over it for my own and sign up for these MLS, services. Signing up there was a difficult process as well. So it wasn't just that it was non-existent sometimes. Sometimes they could never call me back. And it also meant that it affected the offers, my offers, especially on the projects, my buy fix sales that I worked so hard on. It almost felt like the only option was a 6% service. But that is a difficult pill to swallow. So then I decided for me to sign up directly to these MLSs and actually become a broker for my own. Then I started to realize my other real estate investors needed the same service. Plenty of flat fee companies out there, not many that are actual real estate brokerages. What they do is usually they take your money and they pay some local agent to handle it. That agent's not paid enough to care about it. That's a big deal for you as a real estate investor because this is a project where you have sunk thousands of dollars into. You will need someone, especially like me, that understands you, understands what you've done to the property, and this is a big deal, but does not take a big piece of the pie. In some areas, some MLS areas, compliance just means you have to be registered. On the major metros, no. The major metros like Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, they want to make sure you have a team, a brokerage service, which means that that a buyer's agent can pick up the phone and call, and they're there to answer, even on the weekend, the way the offers are handled correctly. That's us. That's usually our service in the major metros. In fact, for leads, we try to keep it as basic as just a flat fee. Please know that if you go too cheap to a flat fee service that tells you could do what you want, pay whatever, MLS may catch it, may go ahead and terminate the listing themselves and fine either the seller or the broker. With our services, we've been doing it for years. So we know what we're doing and we have a staff willing and able to help you and getting you through the offer process. So please understand that when we're talking about a flat fee service for us, at least for my company, at least for my startup, I am speaking about a compliant, MLS compliant brokerage. So both an MLS compliant brokerage that has to act like a 6% service, that's MLS regulation, and the savings that you get for not having to pay 6%. Usually in the major metros, the way we work that in is we have to charge someone. So we cut it from the buyer's agent side, 0.5%. So if you're paying 3% to the buyer's agents, we keep 0.5. They get most of it, 2.5. That's what usually works. That means you get to call us. That means you get to discuss things with us. We get to advise you. I'm your broker. There's no agent in between because I could not afford that. I just have these coordinators that help me get the process along. That's how we're able to help you as a real estate investor service and a legit real estate brokerage. See, best of both worlds. And just a few things that I wanted to make sure. Why a compliance service, flat fee service work compliant? First of all, because it's MLS compliant. That's key. That means the MLS does not flag it for fine or termination. Because most major Metro MLS, they have the revenue enough to audit, to have audit departments. The small MLS is not necessarily, but the big ones, they do. Then responsiveness. You get to pick up the phone, you get to talk to me. Let's discuss how your showings are doing. That's key for the entire process. Why? Because the MLS are for the realtors. And if the realtors are submitting offers and they're going nowhere, neither the seller, neither the realtors involved make commission. And then price is the main key. You get to save plenty, thousands. In fact, most of our clients just pay 3% overall, which is unheard of. And they get the full service. That's what's gotten us through since 2013, because we give the service that is needed for it to close, which is important. 6% is just too expensive. Even for today, my own properties, I couldn't afford to pay 6%. I don't even know how I would have done it with a typical agent. And expert knowledge. Expert knowledge is key. Some things are so important to point out, especially upon an offer, upon an amendment, some item contingency that is needed, escrow, how to get a good escrow company. All that is important for your project, whether it's small or big. So that's really what we could provide to you. I know there's plenty of flat fee services out there. Do yourself a favor, pick up the phone and call them and ask them how do they stay alive, because the MLSs are tough on them. So there's some way somehow they're charging. More than likely they're going to charge you at the end through some kind of avenue, maybe escrow company, maybe an escrow fee that ends up being a percentage, that ends up being 1 or 2%, and then there you go. Now you're back to 4%, 5%. What we try to give you is a 3% option. And then if you're a higher listing price, let's say 700, 800, a million, maybe even lower that to 2.5, maybe lower it to 2, so we can just keep the 0.5 we're looking for to be operational. Don't forget, all these listings that we do have to have E&O insurance, and that insurance also goes up per amount of listings and however the amount of the revenue of the listings are. So you have to keep that in mind too. We have not raised our prices, thankfully. In a world where everyone is, we have not, and that's why our investors remain loyal to us and they appreciate it, because you know what? Me, Dr. Puente, I am an investor. I just did a project last month. I know what it takes to keep a project going, and especially trying to sell in the market where we're at, maybe 5%, 5.5% mortgage rate. You're gonna need the help, the most of the help you can get. So allow us to help you. Give me a call. Let me discuss some things with you about your property. And I would not pay more than 3% overall commission. That's your option right now with us. So let them beat us. Let the other services beat us. Now, we're not just any flat fee company. We're a legit flat fee brokerage, real estate brokerage. You're talking to the broker. I happen to be a PhD, and my startup, which is an incorporation with shareholders, know the value we bring. So we hope you do too as well. Thank you.